I grew up in a home that we didn't hear about God, and when we did, it was very negative.
I grew up attending Catholic grade school, so that was all that's all I knew for a very long time. I had gotten a lot of knowledge about God, but I didn't know God.
And then I seen a difference in my sister because she had met a man and they had started going to church. They got married, and I was longing for what she had. And so I made a New Year's resolution to begin to go to church.
I always felt that there was always something more, and that I kept missing. And for many years, I just kept, I kept searching and searching, and I never was able to find it.
And we started at a traditional church, and I just didn't find that connection and that longing that I was searching for. So we began going to a different church, and during a worship song, I realized how much God truly loved me. And I had heard the gospel before, but I had always rejected it. And so that is when I surrendered my life to Him.
It was a few months after she had gotten saved. We had been invited to a power team show, and the guy who was speaking that night, of course, he had shared the gospel, and his testimony that he had given, it just had touched me, and it woke that feeling up that I had been missing. That night, it all that knowledge, it was like a flower that blossomed that night. It took root, and that's when he got near.
After we were saved, we learned very early on, we were taught about the tithe, and that was to give 10% back to God of our income. And so we began to do that very early on. As soon as we learned, we were very faithful in doing that. And there had came a time in our life where Shane had become very sick, and the doctor had taken him out of work for a year. And in that time, we were living on $50 a week.
And we even tithed on that $50, and people look at $5. That was insignificant, but to us, that was still our tithe. Even when our pastor at the time tried to convince us not to, because he felt very greatly for us in our situation, but we told him, we have to. This is God's, and this is what He said we need to do. And in such a time of need, it was also a very blessed time, because even though I was sick, our electric never got shut off. We never got shut off notice for our gas, our water. Our landlord never gave us an eviction notice. And when I had to go to doctor's appointments, even as far as Cleveland, there was always gas for our vehicles to go there, and food in the house. It was always provided. Every time we needed something, it was there when we needed it. We had tithed for several years, and then we took the Crown study here at Gateway, and in that study we found out the 100% was God's, because He was the one who provided that income to us, not just we made the money and then we give back to God because He asked for 10%. No, He's the one who gave us the income, and all He asked for was 10% back.
Yeah, because when that light bulb came on, the realization, that everything, that whole 100% was God's, our hearts began to change, our minds, our attitudes, everything changed. Because before that, debt meant nothing to me. It really didn't matter what I did with the money. But then when our hearts changed, it mattered. So I always said we couldn't pay off our debt because we didn't have enough money. But when we put God's principles into practice, we actually had more money than we were when we were living by what we wanted and not what He wanted.
We're in process right now of, we've already eliminated a lot of debt, and now we're on our way to financial freedom.